Chapter 8, Delivering Your Speech. In this chapter, we will cover a number of learning objectives, and essentially, they will all be on the exam, so they are the hints. Okay? You need to be able to know and apply the following. Number 1, the 4 different styles of delivery. Number 2, determine the best style that best suits or fits the speaking occasion. Number 3, identify the different vocal aspects of speaking. Number 4, be able to determine the key ingredients for nonverbal speaking. And then number 5, be able to master the speaking location or venue. And the last speaking objective for this chapter will focus on tips in helping you prepare for delivering your speech. Okay, so let's open up with a question. Can a speaker have a great topic, excellent ideas that's well organized on the speaking outline, with great resources, facts, examples, and so forth? Know exactly what they're going to convey in their message, a nice script. However, can you have an awful delivery? Can this really happen? And the answer is yes, and let me tell you why. Fear can get in the way of your growth as a public speaker. What is the universal fear of public speaking? We know from chapter 13, building confidence, it's important that we lessen our communication apprehension, right? And it's through cognitive restructuring we can build our confidence. So, is it preparation or is it performance? It's actually the performance part. That's the scary part for many speakers. It strikes fear in the hearts of many speakers. It's our responsibility, though. Our responsibility to encode, okay, to interpret that information through prepared content, through using a combination of both verbal and nonverbal communication methods. Practice it and then deliver it. Okay? And this will maintain interest as well among your audience members.
2 hours later.
So practice and preparation is the key. That will allow you to become confident and an effective speaker. And I focus interest because you have to have an interesting delivery. Otherwise, your audience will not even go to the next step and comprehend your message.
Aww.
Methods of delivery. There are 4 different styles. The first one is manuscript style, traditionally written on paper, in which the speaker reads word for word or verbatim to the audience at large. However, nowadays, with the use of technology, for example, news reporters will use teleprompters as a way to read from the screen, right? And convey information in a more accurate and precise way. And when you're reporting, facts and statistics, right, to the community or, on a global level, it's important that you get that information right. So it serves its person. Manuscript style. Okay, just because you're reading it doesn't make it easy, okay? Usually these type of folks that use teleprompters or manuscript style of speaking are very trained. So it's one of those difficult speeches to deliver because it's easy to sound artificial. It's easy to sound stilted or stiff. It's important that you sound natural, and then you don't want to sound boring and just regurgitating information in a robotic way. Okay. The next style is memorized. As the name indicates, it's committed to memory. Okay. It's recited to the audience again, word for word or verbatim, as written. Very common among speech debate teams, play scripts, and stand-up comedians. The next style is impromptu speech style. It's right on the spot, unprepared, unrehearsed. Typically pretty short, given with little and sometimes no notice at all. You don't know. Perhaps a professor asked you a question. Okay, usually no or few written notes. If given the opportunity, you can jot some notes on a dinner napkin or perhaps on your phone. What are some speaking tips? Speak from the heart. Keep it real. Maintain eye contact with your audience. Let them know that you care and you value them and you prepared your message. Establish that mutual identification and keep it simple. Keep simple in words. You don't have to use big, elaborate words and elongated sentences. Some examples of impromptu style include ceremonial toast. Maybe someone asks you to pray before the meal. Say a grace. Maybe an acknowledgement or a thanks or an introduction. Perhaps a few words congratulating someone on a job promotion. The last style is extemporaneous style. This is memorized along with impromptu. It's carefully rehearsed in practice. This is what we implement in this course. So we did it for our first speech, the self-intro, and we will continue using extemporaneous forms of speaking for the informative and the persuasive. It is the most common method for public speaking courses and just public speaking in general. It uses notes with keywords and phrases, not full sentences. So do not use your preparation outline, your full sentence outline. In this case, you're going to use your index cards. Do not spend more than 20% using your notes. Some of you used your notes way longer. You rely too heavily on those note cards. Keep your speech fluid and well-constructed, yet flexible, and that's where impromptu comes in. So if you notice that your audience is disengaged or they're losing interest, you need to use impromptu style and gain their interest back. Perhaps shift to the next topic or move forward. No fumbling for words, no rambling. Again, rehearsed and prepared. Your total length of your speaking time needs to be monitored. You don't want to go under the time limit and you don't want to go over your time limit either. Okay, so it's important that you practice before you actually deliver your speech. Be mindful of the time. Be considerate of other speakers and your audience. There are 8 vocal aspects of delivery. Before we begin talking about those aspects, the first word of advice on speaking to a larger audience is to breathe. Use the breathe and release technique. Also, always remember that each speaker has his or her own speaking persona. We offer a sense of uniqueness to the speaking occasion. It's like signatures. So now we can begin with talking about the first aspect, which is articulation. It's how well and correctly we form our vowels and consonants using our face, our physical attributes such as our lips, our jaw, our tongue, palate, to form those sounds. If we do not form those sounds properly, folks can perceive us as either intelligent, will perceive us as unintelligent. And if we do pronounce or articulate words correctly, then we are perceived as more intelligent. For example, rather than say gonna, articulate and say going to. It's just going to take some practice. Number 2 is pronunciation. You do not want to get articulation and pronunciation confused for the exam. Okay? Articulation, again, is the tongue, using the tongue, for example, to form those sounds. Pronunciation is how the vowels and consonants are produced, as well as which syllable is emphasized. And if you don't pronounce your words right, if you mispronounce words, then you will be perceived as less credible, and they will, unfortunately, the audience can discredit your message as well, not just you as a speaker, but your message. So it's important to be able to articulate and pronounce your words correctly and practice it before you actually deliver your speech message. Okay? I don't know if you remember the incident with Steve Harvey. He mispronounced someone's name and it was all over the media and he was discredited. So again, you want to avoid that by practicing those vocal aspects. Number 3 is accent, dialect, and regionalism. Do not get them confused on the exam, hint. Okay? Accent is the degree or prominence of the way syllables are spoken in words. For example, under versus under. Okay? Someone in the South has an accent compared to someone in the North, for example. Okay? So those are accents. For example, fire. Joel Osteen uses the word far versus fire, right? And it's an accent issue. Also, dialect. Dialect is almost like a sub-language of a main language. So it's a variety of a language where one is distinguished from others by grammar and vocabulary. So it's like a whole nother variation of a language, such as English. There's other sub-variations of English, such as known as Black English, African American English, Gullah, right? To name a few. Spanish speakers or Spanish also has different variations of the Spanish language. Regionalism is a type of expression, as when someone says, for example, this example here, which I'm not going to repeat, it's in the ORE, but I didn't think it was a good example, and it doesn't even state where it comes from. But let me give you a better example. Regionalism uses words or expressions such as soda. Other terms that's used to describe soda could be pop, carbonated beverage, Coke, what kind of Coke that you want, right? Although we know Coke is a product. And other terms, I think I'm missing one. I can't think of it. Soda, pop, carbonated water, soda pop. Okay. So again, be able to differentiate between those three. And then vocal quality. Timbre is your distinctive, when you think of vocal quality, is your sound, your distinctive sound and texture of your voice. And we all have unique voices. It can affect audibility, and it can also affect the way in which you articulate your words. Pitch and inflection. Pitch is how high and low your voice ranges. And each of us have a range of tones. Inflections are the variations in the turns and slides of your voice. And it helps provide meaning and interest, rather than just sounding just like this during the entire speech. Right? So you want to use inflection and a range of pitch. Otherwise, you're going to sound boring and dull. Rate. Okay, you got to find your ideal speaking rate. It's the appropriate tempo or speed. You don't want to speak too slow, and you also don't want to speak too fast. If you speak too slow, you can actually forget your talking points, and you can also lose a pill, so you don't want to drag on. But again, it's not a race, so don't speak too fast. It can also cause some articulation issues. You can start stumbling or having issues with articulation. So don't do that. And then people can also perceive you as if you don't care, you're just trying to get your speech over with. Also, your audience may find it difficult to comprehend your message because they can't understand you because you're talking too fast. So it's hard to keep up with you. Number 7 is pauses versus vocalized pauses. There's 2 different types of pauses. The good pause is known as miniature landmarks. They help you understand the structure of the speaker's message. It helps us as audience members digest information and comprehend it. For example, if you open up with an attention getter, a rhetorical question, you may want to pause after that so we can become mentally engaged and digest that information, and then you move to your next point. Be sure spoken sentences are shorter than written sentences. Again, that will help us comprehend the message, because remember, listening is hard work. So that's the good pause. The bad pause that you want to avoid are known as vocalized pauses, aka filler words such as the ums. Okay. Also, vernacular phrases are also considered part of vocal filler words because you're uncertain on what you're going to say next. So you know, right, okay, I mean. I'm guilty of it too, but when it comes to giving a presentation, you want to eliminate that at all costs, okay? Because it may give the impression of a lack of education. That's what the ORE, that's pretty extreme, or a lack of concern for the audience as if you didn't prepare for your speech. And sometimes this results from just bad habit as well. So something that we need to overcome if that's one of your speaking goals. And the last aspect is the vocal projection. Is your volume how high or low? And it's important that you project so all your audience members can hear you, that you're audible in the front row all the way to the back. So practice regularly. Vocal support can be improved by, like I said, standing up, good posture, breathing, energy, along with just some of the simple basic things like, making sure that you are hydrated, rested well, good night's sleep, that you're eating, right? And exercise. So practice regularly. Some ways in which you can practice includes humming, yawning, singing scales, breathing deeply and efficiently will help loosen your voice, prevent irritation, and just fire up your vocal energy. There are 4 key ingredients to consider when utilizing nonverbal forms of communication. The first ingredient being personal appearance. You have to dress appropriately for the situation. Be sure that your attire is tidy and clean, and be comfortable. So if you do this, if you look the part, you're going to feel the part. Hence, you'll be more confident. Rule of thumb, if you're uncertain on how to dress, always dress more formal than less formal. Wear interview clothing. If you want more information on what not to wear and what to wear, see figure 12.2. The second ingredient, movement and gestures. Movement and gestures play a pivotal role in a speech. Body language can be categorized as your body position or your body stance. Okay? Your gestures, such as your hand gestures and facial expressions. All of those should be relaxed. It should be natural. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want it to be too excessive. You want to avoid fidgeting or playing in your hair or doing this to your nose, putting your hands in your pocket or swinging side to side or moving around too much, your lower body or your upper body, because then it feels weird and it can look weird. Do not practice in the mirror, but ask a peer to watch your speech, listen to your speech, and provide you feedback. If you don't have someone available, record your speech and watch it yourself. The third key ingredient is our facial expressions. There are valid universal forms of communication, such as smile. We all smile. When we're happy and when we're sad, we frown. We learn them early on at birth. So they should be natural. Your facial expressions should be natural, organic, and spontaneous. Okay? There's certain things that should not be scripted. The last key ingredient is eye contact. Maintain eye contact between 80 to 90% of the time. Remember, 20% you rely on notes, hint, hint. It takes practice. Be sure to scan your entire audience. Don't leave those in the back of the room, feeling left out, and all those in between. Okay? Make your audience feel as if you're speaking directly to them. Eyes are the window of the soul. Again, seek feedback if you want to help improve your eye contact. Hint, hint, there are 3 types of eye contact that you want to avoid. The first is the head bobber, the speaker who looks up and down at his or her notes. Okay. The second one is balcony stare. The balcony starer or gazer does not look directly at the audience. Instead, he or she will look above their heads as if they're looking at the balcony when they're presenting their speech. The last type is the obsessor who looks at 1 or 2 members of their audience and forgets the other audience members and leaves them out. And I see this often in class when students will focus on me and maybe one other student. The next section is mastering the location, right? So when a speaker is familiar with their speaking surroundings, they're going to be confident, okay? So get to know your speaking domain. Check out the room. Check out the venue. Rehearse and practice if given the opportunity before you give the real speech. Check out the lighting. Will they be able to hear you? Project your voice. Can they hear you in the back? Will they be able to see you if you're using a podium? So check out the podium. Practice standing with good posture. Be sure to also practice stepping away from the podium because the speaker wants to see you They want to see both the nonverbal and the verbal together. Know where to keep your hands. Sometimes hands can be awkward. And then practice with your notes as well. Be sure that your gestures overall and your movement is not hidden behind the podium. Third is the equipment. If you have a multimedia speech, if you're showing a video or using a PowerPoint, be sure that the equipment is working. And you should never be reading from the screen and never, ever turn your back from the audience. Lastly is using a microphone. Test it. Be sure it works. Plan your movement with the microphone. Be sure that your voice amplifies and it's not too weak. The last section is preparing your notes. Remember to use your speaking, not your preparation outline. Keywords and brief phrases is the key. Create note cards or index cards. Be sure they're organized, number them. Be sure that you're able to read them, that they're neat. Avoid writing or printing on both sides, one side only, because the writing on the back can be a distraction and a form of noise, and you don't want to flip them over. Rehearse with your cards. Do not practice in front of a mirror. Practice with your note cards as well as with your visual aid, and then always monitor and record that time. Memorize the entire introduction and the conclusion. This will help you breathe, it will increase your confidence, and it shows that you're prepared and that your audience is important to you. It helps maintain eye contact with your audience and gets their attention. In conclusion, understanding the rules is important. You have to prepare, and practice in order to have a great speech. Thank you.